Hey everybody, today we're going to be making a slide menu interaction in Pixate. What we've got is an app. In this case it's a weather app, and when we tap on the menu it zooms out and scales down and moves over, and revealing a background and some menu interactions that we can go with that accordion in, and then you tap and it goes back in full screen. So we're working in sort of like a 3D space with this, and it's going to be fun and it's pretty easy to do. So let's get started. So I'm building this on an iPhone 5 canvas size, so make sure that that's the canvas that you select. And I've got the assets in here. You can download those from my website. There's a link in the description. And what we'll do first is make a new layer. We're going to make the shell container for the main screen. So let's just rename this main screen. And we'll make it transparent. And let's add a tap interaction to it. So we're not going to make a button over the menu. We're just going to do it so that this entire screen can be tapped. And that's how we're going to open it and close it. And then we can place our assets in. So we'll come over here, and I'm going to place main screen.png. We'll just place this, and then make sure I put it inside of the main screen container. And then I'll make another layer, and we're going to make a scrim. So we'll just rename this to scrim. And we'll name this black, or we'll make this black. It's 000000. There we go. And we'll start it out 0 opacity. And then we're going to place the photo background in so that when we set these animations on this screen, we'll be able to see it and really tell what's going on. So let's just drag this in here. And the place that I want this on the screen is -402 and -44. And we'll put this underneath the menu, so we'll drag this main screen up so it's in front. So then we'll come over, get back to the main screen, and let's add a move animation and a scale animation. Now we're going to use conditions to make these work, so we're only going to use these two, and it'll give us a little bit better control. So we'll say this move is based on the main screen's tap, and we'll get the layer ID. Just copy this, and so we'll say when the layer ID's X position, its left side, is equal to 0, we'll move its left to 208. I'm going to use a spring animation. The friction of 20 and a tension of 150. And let's delay this 0.05 seconds. So now we tap it, it slides over. And then we're going to add one more condition. And we're going to say when this layer ID's left position, X, is equal to 208, it'll move back to 0. And we'll use the same easing curve. Friction 20 and 150. And there's not going to be a delay on this one. So now when I tap it, it slides over. And then if I tap it again when it's over, it slides back. Just like that. Now keep in mind that when you're interacting with this, now since it's a spring, it might look like it's done, but it might be slowly moving pixels. That's one of the downsides of using spring. So if you tap it, it looks like it's done, and I just tapped it, but it didn't go over. I had to tap it twice. So just keep that in mind when you're doing things with conditions and springs, that it might actually still be slowly moving, and that's why it might not immediately respond to the conditional tap that brings it back to wherever you're trying to get it. Okay, so now for the scale, we're going to do something very similar. So we'll say when it's tapped, we'll paste that layer ID back in here. We'll do .scale. If it's equal to 1, we're going to scale this down to 0.64%. And for this, I'm going to use an ease out quadratic with a duration of 0.4 seconds, but no delay. Then we're going to add another condition. Paste that layer ID. Dot scale is equal or less than 1. Since we're taking it less than 1, we're going to scale it back up to 1x. We'll use a ease out quadratic on this one as well. We'll do a duration of 0.4 seconds, and we'll add a delay of 0.1 onto this. So now when I tap it, it scales down and moves out, so it looks like we're in a 3D space. If I tap it, it goes back up the same way. So now for the scrim, I want this to kind of fade out so that there's not so much attention on it. When I'm here, you see it's still pretty bright, and we want the attention to be on the menu when we're doing this. So we're going to add this scrim, or we're going to add a fade animation to this scrim. Let's grab this. We're also going to use conditions for this. So we'll say when the main menu is tapped, the layer ID is going to be the same one, the main screen. So when that's scale is equal to 1. So when we tap it, if its scale is equal to 1, we want this to come up to 50%. We're going to just keep this linear easing curve, but we're going to do 0.4 second duration, which is the duration it takes for this to scale down. Then we added our condition, paste this layer ID in here again, dot scale, and just like with the move, if it's equal to or less than 1, which it will be, it's going to be 0.64, we'll bring it to 0. And we'll do a 0.4 second duration, and we'll add a 0.2 delay on this one. So when we tap it, it goes out, but we're unable to tap it back. Let's see. Yep. We added the tap interaction to the wrong layer, so let's do this. Go back to this main screen, PNG, delete this tap interaction, and we're going to add the tap interaction to this shell container. And then we just got to come back in here and make sure that this is the proper. So we'll change, reset the based on interactions for this and for the scrim. And our condition should still work. Yeah. So there we go. Now when we tap it open and we tap it, it comes right back in. Perfect. Okay, so let's add the menu in here. So we can close this up. We'll minimize this for a second. And we're going to bring all of these in here. So we've got alerts, cities, logout, my account, the logo, and settings. So these are just going to be in here sitting free, but we're going to put them in position. Let's make sure that main screen is on top of these. And let's put these, we'll just put these in an order. We'll just put logout up top, settings below it. There we go. Alerts, cities, my account, logos below it. So we'll just order it like this. Okay, so logout, we're going to put these all 21 pixels in. And logout's going to be so at 21 and 352. Settings is at 21, 302. Alerts at 21, 252. Cities is at 21, 203. My account is at 21 and 153. Then you've got the logo up here at 51 and 50. So it's right up top. So now if I tap, there we go, there. It's great. So what I'm going to do to make this work is I'm going to use the same conditions that we used for the main screen, which is focusing on the left position, the x equals 0 and then x equals 208. And that's how we're going to base the movements for the animations for these text strings right here. So for each one, what we're going to do is we're going to go in, we'll set the first condition, the first move. They're all going to move into the same distance of 51. So we'll say when main screen is tapped, we'll say, and that condition was, let's come over here, copy this layer ID again, or we can actually copy this first condition right here. So main screen PNG dot x equals 0. We're going to use that and we'll just paste this throughout. So just paste that in there. We're going to move these into 51, and they're all going to use a spring easing curve with a friction of 20 and a tension of 350. So we'll just do that for all of these, from my account all the way up to logout. So just paste it in at 51 and set the easing curve. Tension of 350. And then once we got that set, let's see that when I tap on this, they move in, and there's a little bounce. So now what we're going to do, since with that condition, is we're going to come back and tell it when we tap this to move back into place. So we'll just tap this condition, plus condition. Let's come back over to main screen and copy this this right here, this main screen dot x equals 208. And we're going to do the same thing for here. So we'll paste this in the else, move it back to where it was at 21. But for this, let's just keep this linear easing curve as it is. Just come back to each one of these, tap condition, paste it in, and tell it to go back to 21. Oops. There we go. Okay, so now all of these menu settings, my account, cities, alerts, settings, and logout, they should all have a move condition based off of when the main screen's left position is at 0. That's moving it to 51 with a spring easing curve, tension of 350. And they should have an else if condition added to that. When main screen's position is at 208, they move back to 21, the left side to 21 with the linear easing curve. So when we tap, we see it opens up. Then when we tap again, it moves back. And so now it's always reset and it goes the way that I want it to. So now I want to have these offsets that when I tap it, they move in sort of a flowy pattern. So we're going to come through and add delays for all of these. Now, when they're going to be offset delays for when they move in to 51, but they're all going to be the same when they go back when we close the menu. The delay will all be the same for all of them because we're not going to see them close in. So let's add a delay for the My Account, this first one. The delay is just going to be 0.1 seconds. And then when it goes back, we'll add a delay of 0.5, which is what we're going to do for all of these. So for cities, delay when it moves in is going to be 0.15. That's how we're going to do this exponentially, 0.05 intervals. And then going back, a delay of 0.5. For alerts, 0.2 second delay moving in, 0.5 going back. For settings, 0.25 going in, 0.5 going back. And logout is 0.3 going in, and 0.5 going back. So now you see when we move this, they flow in. After 0.5 seconds, it's back. So when I do this, they go back. Cool. Okay, so now we have fades for all of these. And what we're going to do is we're going to turn all these opacities for these settings down to 0, and we're going to tell them to fade in when the menu's open. So we'll come in here and we'll turn all these down. And we're going to tell these to fade back. So let's come back to my account, this first one. We're going to do the same thing, same conditions, telling it to open and close. So we'll paste that. Let's paste this and recopy this. So when main screen's left position is at 0, we'll tell this to fade in to 100. And we're going to copy the delays from that we set for the moves for these that we just set. So we're just do a 0.1 second delay on this first one. For cities, same thing. It's that. Tell it to go up to 100. The delay we had for this was 0.15. And we can double check in here. Yep, so the delay for the move is 0.15. And then after we have these set, we'll come back and reset the conditions to go back down. So for this one, go up to a delay, 0.2. This fades in. Paste this up to 100. Let's see, this is 0.25, yep. And then log out. Its delay was 0.3. Cool. So there, that looks a little better. So they're all fading once they start their fades, once they move in, so it's all on properly timed, just like that. Okay, so now let's make sure that they can fade out when we close this. So for these, what we're going to do, we're going to use the same style. We'll paste this in. We'll say when they're at 208, that's going to be the condition. So we can copy this. So screen's X is equal to 208. If it's tapped, fade it to 0. And we're going to add a 0.2 second delay for all of these going down. So add a condition, paste this, 0.2 seconds. So now when I tap it, they fade in. When I tap this, they move in. There we go. It's all reset. That's working exactly how you want it to do. And now we can just keep going and going when we do this. Okay, so now let's add a couple small details. Let's come over to, we can bring main screen back into view. And if we click on photo, let's add a new layer and make it take up the whole canvas size, so fit main screen. And we're going to call this a scrim. So what I want to do is when I open this menu, I want the background to look like it's kind of fading into view. We're going to do that with a scrim so that it's dark. And then we're also going to make it zoom out, make that look a little bit more dynamic. But we'll start with the scrim, and we'll add a fade animation to this. So say when the main screen is tapped, we're going to paste this condition in. So if main screen's left position is at 0 when it's tapped, we'll fade this to 70, so it's going to go down. Use linear easing curve. do that 0.4 second duration because that's how long it takes for this to animate. And then add a condition, and we'll say if its left position is at 208 when we tap it, we're going to have this go back to 100%. And we'll delay this 0.5 seconds, just like with the other stuff. And then we'll come in here and let's just select this black. Let's change its color to black. So now when I tap it, see it sort of fades out and then the background appears. And then when I bring it back, it resets. Pretty. So when we come over to photo, we're going to add a couple things to this. We're going to add a scale animation and a move animation. Oops. So let's set this like this. And what I want is for the background to kind of scale down just a little bit when we open it. It'll give us the feeling that we're in more of a 3D space and make it appear a little more dynamic. It'll be more fun. So we'll say then when the screen is tapped, we set condition and say if it's at 0, we're going to scale this to 1. We should probably change the scale of this. Let's go up top to the properties, make the scale 1.5. That'll be its loaded scale. And we're going to tell it to scale down to 1. And we're going to use a spring easing curve for this, but we'll turn the tension down to 50, not 500, so it's just nice and smooth. Then we'll add a condition. Paste that in. So if the main screen's left is at 208, let's bring it back to 1.5. We can use the same easing curve, but we'll keep that 0.5 second delay on it so that it sets when we're back. So if I tap it, scales out nice and slow. Bring it back. Try it again, and it scales. Then we're going to add animate the move on this. What I want is it to just slowly pan across the screen in the background, and it'll make it look really cool. So we'll paste our condition in here. Make sure it says 0. So if it's at 0, then we're going to tell its left side to come to 0, and we're going to add a duration of 50 seconds. I want this to be really slow. And then we'll add a condition. Paste that condition back in. So if it's at 208, we'll bring its left position to, what is it, -402. We'll bring it back. And then we'll delay this 0.5 seconds. So now I open this, it moves out, and it slowly moves in the back. I'll bring this back in. And I can try it again, and it resets. So that's it for building this project. It's fairly simple. And conditions are very powerful, and they give you a lot of control. As you can see, all we did was make 2, and we were able to base a bunch of stuff just based off those 2 strings. They're really powerful. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this tutorial, and I'll see you next time.